Hello aspirants, welcome to Impact IAS Academy. So today what we are going to see is a crucial topic with respect to UPSC as well as humanity. So when it comes to humanity, the basic needs of a human being are clothing, the dress we wear, the shelter, the place we live, and ultimately food that includes solid foods as well as water, liquid food. So the today's topic revolves around food security and hunger. So in Tamil, there are many sayings that relate to hunger. For example, தனி ஒரு மனிதனுக்கு உணவில்லை எனில் ஜெகத்தினை அழித்திடுவோம். This famous phrase was uttered by Mahakavi Bharatiyar. So then, வாடிய பயிரை கண்டபோதெல்லாம் வாடினேன். This famous poem was written by Vallalar. So there are many philosophers around the globe who spoke about poverty, hunger related to food and food wastage. So in today's The Hindu, today means 29th September 2025. In today's The Hindu, there is an editorial section laying emphasis on International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. So in short form, IDAFLW. So this short form we would refer in the news article. So I have gathered some 29 points because that matches with the date of today, 29th September. So there are around 29 points regarding this food shortage or food insecurity that India and the globe faces. So in the introduction, we might see the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Wastage was observed on September 29. It's a global call to reduce food wastage. It highlights how this loss undermines food security, farmers' income, climate stability. So in this, Mahatma Gandhi's words comes into place. So God cannot appear to the hungry except in the form of bread. So how philosophical it is. So in the global context, moving to second point, globally, 1/3 of the food produced, nearly 1.3 billion tons annually, is lost or wasted. How much is wasted? This is happening even while about 700 million people continue to face hunger. So one side, 700 million people face the cruel face of poverty and hunger, and another side, 1.3 billion tons of food gets wasted. So this happens while about 700 million. So moving on to second point, that is global context. So globally, 1/3 of the food produced, that is nearly 1.3 billion tons of food produced annually, gets wasted. But on the other hand, if we see, there are huge number of people who live in the cruel phase of hunger. Exact number is 700 million people globally. They live in hunger. One side, 1.3 billion tons of food goes wastage. And the other side, 700 billion people, they continue to live in hunger. So philosophers like Socrates reminded that overindulgence blinds humanity towards higher duties. So when we mention Socrates, this article also leads to GS paper 4 of ethics in UPSC civil services examination. So coming to third point, food waste is responsible for 8% to 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Because India follows Panchamrit principles, we have set a net zero target of 2070. So according to Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, if food waste were a country, if food waste is assumed to be a nation, a country, it would be the third largest emitter after US and China. So it is an assumption. So this makes food both as a humanitarian as well as a climate crisis. So moving on to fourth point, the heading is India's magnitude, the size of the problem. So India, despite the world's largest producer of milk as well as second largest producer of cereals, India suffers high post-harvest losses. So in numbers, as per 2022 survey, the study commissioned by Ministry of FPI. So estimated annual losses is around 1.5 trillion rupees, which is equal to 3.7% of the agricultural GDP. So around, if we produce 100 rupees amount of agricultural products, 3% is contributed to this. So moving on to next point, fruit and vegetables faces the highest losses at 10 to 15% of the output. So staple like food we consume, paddy and wheat. So 4.8% paddy, wheat 4.2%. They also contribute significantly to the food wastage. So when scaled nationally, the small percentage turn into millions. So they might appear small, but when it comes to a nation of 28 states and 8 union territories, they form a very big component. Moving on to sixth point. Every ton of food wasted also faces irrigation because we are supplying huge amount of water through irrigation facilities. So for that irrigation facilities, we are giving electricity, we are providing manual labor. So everything goes waste when a particular section of food gets wasted. So Indian Council of Agricultural Research estimates billions of water are wasted annually through food shortage. Thus, food loss in India is ecological as well as economical as well as a social tragedy. So moving on to climate and environmental linkages, the FAO study on Green Climate Fund in 2023, it provided the first sector-wise estimates of emission from food losses. So losses around 30 crops and livestock products generates 33 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions annually in India. It is very huge loss for India when it comes to carbon dioxide emission, significant formation of greenhouse gas. So paddy alone owing to methane intensity, yes, methane is a short-lived pollutant. It is a prelims point. Methane is a short-lived pollutant and the significant amount of methane emission comes from paddy. So paddy alone owing to methane intensity contributes to 10 million tons of emissions every year. So livestock product losses due to their heavy resource footprint are equally damaging. So thus food loss directly worsens India's climate change also. So moving on to certain government frameworks for this food shortages and food losses. Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 12.3. So India is aligned with Sustainable Development Goal 12.3, which seeks to reduce food loss and waste by 2030. To monitor this, Sustainable Development Goal 12.3.1 indicator has been included in the National Indicator Framework by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So moving on to 10 point. 3 nationwide post-harvest loss surveys has been conducted across more than 50 crops. So this survey would provide scientific data on losses, how losses occur, helping to design crop-specific as well as region-specific strategies. Such evidence-based planning strengthens our food system. So moving on to causes. What are the causes of food losses in India? So in high-income countries, food waste is consumer driven, happening at supermarkets and households. But when it comes to India, many losses occur early in supply chain, during harvesting, during handling, during storage, and during distribution. So when it comes to India, handling, storage, distribution, supply chains, everywhere food losses occur. So this reflects a gap in infrastructure as well as fragmented supply chain. So inadequate cold chain infrastructure, outdated packaging, poor roads, lack of refrigerated transport are the key contributors. These deficiencies reduce the shelf life and make farmers vulnerable to distress sale. So you might have seen in news where farmers throw tomato, throw lady's finger in the roads because it would have got rotten, or the government would have reduced the price so much that the demand is very less and the output is very large. So these are the supply chain constraints. Addressing these gaps is central in reducing the food wastage. Moving on to certain government initiatives and schemes. So the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana (PMKSY) modernizes food processing with mega food parks, cold chains, agro processing clusters. So it aims to double farmers' income while reducing the food losses significantly. Moving on to next scheme, Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. So this promotes cold storage, pack houses, and refrigerated transport of fruits and vegetables. So this scheme directly addresses perishable commodity losses. So the government is also supporting 10,000 FPOs, farmer produce organizations, to improve collective storage, transport, and bargaining power. So these farmer produce organizations, they enhance value chain efficiency and reduce post-harvest wastage. So then National Food Security Act 2013 provides subsidized food to 800 million Indians. So this reduces food loss and it strengthens India's food security. So what are some technological solutions we can provide? So Internet of Things based sensors, artificial intelligence, and predictive analytics can optimize storage, transport, and demand forecasting. These tools would provide bottlenecks and supply chain disruptions. So moving on to 20th point, circular economy approaches. Surplus food can be directed to food banks, community kitchens, and NGOs such as Indian food banking network. So these are some productive things we can do to reduce the food shortages or food wastages. So unavoidable food waste can be converted into compost, animal feed or bioenergy. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy supports waste to energy plants that convert organic food waste into renewable energy power. So what is the role of stakeholders here? The private sector must invest in packaging innovations, refrigerator supply chains, and storage technologies. Public-private partnerships under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana have already demonstrated positive outcomes in food cluster development. So moving on to civil society organization participation. So they will spread awareness on mindful consumption and redistribution. So consumers also, we as a consumers also carry responsibility in reducing waste. So planned purchases, mindful cooking and redistribution of surplus can minimize the household wastages. So philosophical reflections, if we see in ethical perspective, ancient wisdom across cultures emphasize modernization as well as responsible consumption. So in India, Chanakya has argued for foresight and efficiency in resource management. Resource management means food also. So modern thinkers like Pope Francis, so he warned that throwing away food is like stealing from the table of those who are poor and hungry. So what is the way forward we can learn? Policy must link food loss reduction with nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement, which was signed in 2015. This ensures climate benefits while tackling hunger. Subsidies, credit guarantees, and low interest loans should encourage investments in logistics and technology. So, the observance of this International Day on Food Loss must translate into concrete reforms and behavioral changes. Saving food means saving lives. So, as a human being, as an UPSC and TNPSC aspirant who is preparing for a competitive exam, who is aspiring to become a IAS officer, IPS officer, deputy collector, DSP, must keep in mind that food wastage is a governance problem, it is an society problem, it is an ethical problem, it is an economic problem. It does not fit into one dimension, it travels across all dimensions. So as a bureaucrat, we have to be mindful in consumption, we have to plan our cooking, we have to reduce our food shortage. Also, we have to provide unique technological solutions to these problems. So stay tuned for further videos. We'll be analyzing the editorial sections also in our current affairs playlist in addition to international relations. So thank you. Stay tuned.